All right, so are you ready for a culinary adventure? Today we're heading to Ghana.
Sounds delicious.
We're going to be diving into this awesome YouTube video I found by Tatiana Haina.
What?
She's making a traditional yam and garden egg stew.
Oh, wow.
And get this, she's cooking it all right in her village kitchen.
That's amazing. It's so cool how her video is more than just a recipe.
Right.
It's like a window into a whole different way of life.
Exactly. I mean, she's using these clay pots, fresh ingredients from her garden, and techniques that have been passed down through generations. It really gives you a feel for her culture through food.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about those key ingredients. We've got yam, which I think most people are pretty familiar with.
Yeah.
But then there's garden egg, which might be a little more mysterious.
Yeah, for those who haven't tried it, garden egg is a type of eggplant that's really popular in a lot of African dishes.
Oh, interesting.
And what's cool is that Tatiana actually asks her viewers in the video if they eat garden eggs where they live. It just goes to show how food can be such a great way to connect with people from different cultures and see how, our experiences might be similar or different.
For sure.
And by the way, garden eggs are super nutritious, packed with vitamins and minerals. They actually have some potential health benefits, too.
Good to know. All right, so let's see how Tatiana actually makes this stew.
Okay.
Right off the bat, you see how resourceful she is. She's using these really simple tools and techniques, and she starts by soaking salted fish.
Ah, interesting.
Now, that might seem like an unnecessary step, but it's actually a traditional way of preserving food.
Oh, yeah. Preservation methods like salting are so important in so many different cultures, especially in places where refrigeration might be limited.
Right, makes total sense.
It's amazing how these techniques not only extend the shelf life of food, but also give that unique flavor.
Right.
I mean, think about it. Salted fish has such a different taste compared to fresh fish.
Totally.
And it's all thanks to those traditional preservation methods.
And speaking of tradition, Tatiana mentions that this is how, her grandmothers and grandfathers used to do it. That really got me thinking about how food traditions are passed down through families,
It's true.
It's not just the recipe, but it's a whole way of life.
Exactly. It's like a connection to our heritage, a way to connect with our ancestors and a source of cultural identity.
And you being such a foodie and exploring all these different culinary traditions, I bet you really get that connection.
Oh, absolutely. It's like a whole sensory experience.
Watching Tatiana cook is definitely a sensory experience.
Yeah.
The bright colors of the ingredients, that sizzle of the oil when she puts things in the pot, the aroma of the spices, you can almost smell it through the screen.
I know. It's like you're right there in the kitchen with her.
Totally. It makes you feel the warmth of the fire under that clay pot.
And that's something I really appreciate about traditional cooking methods.
Oh, yeah.
They engage all our senses.
Yeah.
It creates a deper connection with the food and the whole process.
Right.
It's not just about being efficient. It's about savoring every step, and really appreciating how the ingredients transform.
And speaking of transformations, Tatiana actually throws in a little surprise ingredient.
Oh.
Smoked salmon.
What?
Yeah. She explains that she didn't have another protein readily available, so she thought, hey, why not use some smoked salmon?
Wow. That's so creative.
Right. And she got it from a woman in her village who smokes food.
I love that she's supporting her local community, too.
Yeah.
And I bet that smoked salmon adds such a unique flavor to the stew.
You can tell she's really adaptable and resourceful.
For sure. It's like that instinct to make the most of what you have.
Totally. It reminds me that cooking doesn't always have to be about following a recipe exactly.
Right.
Sometimes the best dishes come from improvising.
Absolutely. And I think that's something we can all learn from.
So for the grand finale, Tatiana serves the stew in this beautiful clay pot, which not only looks incredible, but it also helps keep everything warm and enhances those earthy flavors.
It's like a piece of art.
It is. As she takes her first bite, you can see how much she enjoys it, and she points out how nutritious this meal is, talking about the health benefits of garden eggs, reminding us to watch our salt intake.
Good advice.
And highlighting how yam gives you long-lasting energy.
It's interesting how she brings together taste and nutrition so seamlessly.
Yeah.
It's like she's saying, hey, you can enjoy delicious food that's good for you too.
Exactly. And she ends this part by encouraging viewers to try the recipe at home and subscribe to her channel for more videos.
It's like she's inviting us all to experience a little bit of Ghana through her food.
Totally. What a cool way to connect with a different culture.
I agree. It's inspiring.
Okay, so we've seen how she starts this amazing stew.
Yeah.
But there's so much more to unpack. We'll dive into the rest of Tatiana's cooking process in the next part of our deep dive.
Sounds good. I'm excited to see what else she does.
Okay, so you know what really stuck with me from that first part?
Mm-hmm.
It was when Tatiana was getting that salted fish ready.
Right.
She was very specific about, getting rid of all that extra salt.
Yeah.
And we actually see her doing it in the video.
You're right. You're right. And it's kind of like a visual reminder of how resourceful people are when it comes to like traditional cooking,
It is. It's not just about like keeping the food from going bad, but it's about like not wasting anything.
Right, exactly.
And she even says they do this for other types of fish too, not just the tilapia she was using.
Oh, interesting.
She mentions this one called Super M. I don't know if you've heard of that one.
I haven't.
But anyway, she emphasizes that all that salt has got to be gone before you can use it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love how she kind of weaves in these details about daily life in Ghana.
Me too.
Yeah.
It really brings the whole experience to life.
Yeah. You really get a sense of what it's like to be in her kitchen.
And speaking of being in her kitchen, we also get to see her grinding those garden eggs after they're cooked.
Oh, yeah. That was interesting. So that grinding step, I was thinking, it seems super important for getting that right texture for the stew.
I would agree.
Have you ever had anything with garden egg that was prepared like that?
Not that I can think of.
Yeah.
But it makes me want to try it,
Right.
There's so much to explore in African cuisine.
Mm-hmm.
What I love about like discovering these different food cultures is it opens up all these new flavors and techniques that you might never have even thought of.
Yeah.
It really challenges you to think differently about what food can be.
Totally. So after the garden eggs, she adds the tomatoes and onions to the pot
Okay.
to kind of create that flavor base for the stew.
Right. Makes sense.
Before adding those ground garden eggs.
I feel like that layering of flavors is something you see in all sorts of cuisines around the world.
Mm.
Some like build that complexity through a long, slow cooking process. And others really focus on using fresh, like aromatic ingredients.
Mm-hmm. And Tatiana's stew seems to kind of combine both.
Yeah, a little bit of both.
So then she combines everything in the pot.
Right. The moment of truth.
The blended garden eggs, the fish, all those fragrant tomatoes and onions, and of course the smoked salmon. What are your thoughts on that addition?
At first I was like, interesting choice. But honestly, I think it was brilliant.
Yeah.
It shows how willing she is to experiment,
Right.
And I think that's important because traditional recipes, they aren't like set in stone.
Yeah.
They change and evolve over time. They can incorporate new ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
And the smoked salmon, I think it adds a really unique depth of flavor that you wouldn't get otherwise.
It's cool how she shows that cooking isn't always about sticking to the rules.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes the best things come from just like going with your gut and using what you have on hand.
Right. Like, don't be afraid to try something new.
Exactly.
And, okay, can we just talk about how beautiful the final dish looks?
It's gorgeous.
Served in that clay pot with that vibrant stew next to the yam.
That clay pot is more than just a serving dish, though, right?
Oh, for sure.
It represents, like, tradition, history. It connects to, like, the roots of Ghanaian cuisine.
I love that. And then when she takes her first bite, she has this big smile on her face, and she's reminding us how good this all is for you.
Right. She was talking about those garden eggs again.
Making sure we're mindful of that salt and that yam, giving you that energy to keep you going.
Yeah, like a whole lesson in like mindful eating,
Yeah.
appreciating where your food comes from and how it nourishes your body.
And she even suggests pairing it with fresh fruit,
Oh, nice.
like oranges or pineapple,
That's a great idea.
for a really balanced and satisfying meal.
I think that's a great point she makes about incorporating those fruits and vegetables.
Right.
It's not just about one ingredient. It's about creating a meal that's good for you in every way.
Thinking about the whole picture.
Exactly.
This whole experience has been so inspiring.
I agree.
Tatiana's passion for her culture and her food is contagious.
It reminds us that food can really bring people together.
Right. No matter where you're from.
Exactly. By embracing all these different culinary traditions, we can learn so much about each other.
I'm already thinking about what we should deep dive into next.
Me too. There's a whole world of flavors out there waiting to be discovered.
After watching Tatiana make that yam and garden egg stew, I can't help but wonder, what can we take away from all of this?
Right.
I mean, why should we care about a dish being made in a village kitchen, halfway across the world?
It's interesting because her video, it does so much more than just show us how to cook something. It's
Yeah.
like it gives us this glimpse into another culture,
Right.
a world that's probably very different from our own. And I think it reminds us that no matter those differences, we all share this love for food.
Food is like a universal language.
Exactly. It's that common thread that connects us all.
It's amazing to me how much we can learn from just one YouTube video.
Right.
We learned about garden eggs, which I had never even heard of before. We got to see those traditional cooking methods.
Yeah.
And we even got a little peek into daily life in a Ghanaian village.
And you can just feel Tatiana's passion, for her heritage in every step of that process.
It really comes through.
She's not just giving us a recipe, she's sharing a part of her culture.
Right.
And inviting us to be a part of it.
Yeah, and that's what makes this deep dive so special.
I agree.
It's not just about learning some new cooking skills.
Yeah.
It's about opening ourselves up to these different cultures and traditions from around the world.
Yeah, and realizing how food can bring us all closer together.
Exactly. And Tatiana's video, it kind of leaves us with a question.
What's that?
Well, how do our own food choices, reflect our culture and values?
That's a good question.
Like, what do the things we eat say about who we are?
I think it's something we don't often think about.
Right.
But it's definitely worth considering.
Maybe if we all try more dishes from different cultures, we can learn more about ourselves and about the world around us.
I think you're right.
It's like food is more than just something we eat.
It's a story, a connection, a journey.
So next time you're looking to try something new, why not try a dish from a culture you're not familiar with?
That's a great idea.
You might be surprised by what you discover.
I'm sure we would be.
Not just about the food itself, but about the people and the place where it comes from.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And who knows, you might even learn something new about yourself along the way.
That's it for today's deep dive.
Thanks for joining us.
We'll see you next time for another culinary adventure.